Hello, gardening friends. Today is Saturday, March 16th. I'm doing this video today because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I thought I would go ahead and take the video now in between storms. We had some rain last night and some more due tomorrow. It's been a busy week here. I went ahead and Kevin's the guy that works with me on Thursdays. We cleaned the top of the Canary Island date palm off and got rid of all the dead fronds, as well as cleaned up the other palms that are back here, got some of the yellowed leaves off of them, and just in general trimmed them up. And then I went ahead and fertilized all my palms. I do use a specially formulated palm fertilizer. It does have the trace minerals that palms need. And palms are very heavy feeders, so I feed them 4 times a year. And I had to actually go through my videos from last year to find out that I think it was November 17th, the last time I did fertilize my palms, so I'm running a little late. So in any event, everything pretty much got fertilized back here in the last couple of weeks. I did the camellias, the roses, you name it, the palms, the citrus, everything got done. One thing I did do this last week, one rabbit hole I went down, was I was watching YouTube and happened to see this video from out of Canada. It's called Garden Fundamentals. And I saw a very interesting show where he looked at fertilizers and compared different fertilizers and drew some conclusions. What I gleaned out of it was rose fertilizer, which I've been buying. I don't think I'm going to buy again. And here's my reasoning. He said it, and I actually didn't believe him, so I went online and dug the information up myself. But these are the different, at least these are 5 palm fertilizers, rose fertilizers that you can buy. The one I use is Scott's Rose and Bloom, but I compared Job's Rose and Flower, Dr. Earth Organic Natural Rose and Flower, Rose Tone from Espoma, and High Yield Rose Fertilizer. And fertilizers are sold by the NPK values. I'll keep the chemistry lesson to a minimum, but the N is nitrogen, P stands for phosphate, and K stands for potash. Some people will tell you it's phosphorus and potassium, but that's not the case. The numbers on the bags are for nitrogen, phosphate, and potash. But the key here is, and you may ask, like, what do they mean, potash versus potassium? Well, think of it this way. Think of going to a grocery store to buy raisins and coming home with Raisin Bran. You've got raisins in there, but there's other stuff as well. It's kind of like the potash. It's got other compounds other than potassium. But the takeaway from all that is, if you look at the different formulations, this is all for rose food now. Scott's is 12-4-8. Job's is 3-5-3. Dr. Earth Organic is 4-6-2. Rose Tone from Espoma is 4-3-2. And High Yield Rose Fertilizer is 6-8-6. They are pretty much all over the board. What that tells me is, although I have had good luck in the past with Scott's Rose and Bloom, I'm just going to use regular general fertilizer from now on my roses, because it's obvious from looking at the formulations. In my mind, nobody really knows what's good for roses. So if you have a fertilizer that works, by all means keep using it, but don't think you need to buy a rose fertilizer. So in any event, enough said about that. I did notice today, although I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, you can probably see if you look way back down in there, my angel's trumpet is coming back. That is the peach color. I also have my violets are in bloom. One of the other rabbit holes I went down this weekend was foraging for plants in the woods, and I've come to find out that in the wild violet, every part of the plant is edible. So you can add it to your salads. Let's see, Loropetalum, just about out of bloom. My sempervivums, hens and chicks, are still here. They're still looking plump. I have a little 50 ml syringe that I've been watering the little cuttings with. They don't really have roots other than the stubs that were attached to the main plant. These are the white Christmas caladiums, and I knocked one out of its pot to see if this has been in the pot now for 2 weeks, and it doesn't show any signs of doing anything yet, so I will pot that back up later. These are my seeds. Borage still doing well. Birds haven't bothered it. I'm getting some damping off of my Swiss chard, and although I had many more, well, not many, I had a couple more cucumbers, the birds have discovered them, and they have apparently taken a liking to cucumber microgreens. So they've been eating my cucumber sprouts. That's the whole reason I started them here, was thinking they would survive the birds. They'll definitely see them in the wild if I planted them in the ground. Over here you can see my hosta is out of the ground. So far, no slugs have hit it. My leaf lettuce still doing fine. This white angel's trumpet is leafing out nicely. I did notice, which was one of the reasons I did go ahead and fertilize the palms. Hopefully you can see up there in the Windmill palm, it's got 3 inflorescence that are fixing to unfurl and open. Here you can see the beautiful flowers of the oxalis, which is basically a weed. It would be okay if it wasn't coming out of my monkey grass. The one good thing about oxalis is it's one of the first weeds or plants to come out of the ground in the spring, and it is also one of the first plants that will die back when heat hits it. It'll just shrivel up to nothing and not be seen again till next year or late in the fall. You can see a bunch of violets blooming next to the water. I'm thinking of planting some violets in my potager, since now I know they're edible. Pieris japonica starting to lose its flowers. There is an inflorescence opening on this Pindo Palm. It's hard to get a good picture of it, but it is kind of unfurling from its sheath. Back in here, all is still well. The Phoenix canariensis is looking pitiful. However, it is green and it will sprout back. I did fertilize it heavily. In fact, I do need to get a little bit more fertilizer yet. The blueberries are actually beginning to set little berries, which is always good. Maybe I'll actually have blueberries here this year, first time. I have to laugh because this shows the tenacity of plants. That is a pansy that I was too lazy to throw in the trash, so I just tossed it here in the flower bed on top of the soil, and it's growing. So I will let it live. Back in there you can see the peach angel's trumpet doing well. I did find out that this weed next to it, make sure I don't drop the camera, has little yellow flowers. It's called hawkweed. Now that I know the name of it, it's still there, but at least now I can say I know what it is. Bottle brush looks like it's got some sprouts for flowers. My white jasmine is sending up some little buds. Yellow jasmine is finishing up on the fence. Here's another inflorescence on the Mediterranean fan palm. They do kind of look otherworldly, kind of like, almost like a sumac flower. My Encore rose smells, oh, it smells so good right here. Like a lemony rose scent. I did notice that this Beaufort holly that I cut back about a month ago now, you can see green sprouts all over. There was never any doubt, but it's always nice to see it come back. Those are the 4 hanging pots that used to be on my fence. I made the mistake last time we cut the Canary Island date palm of leaving some pots out there. And when the fronds fall, they took the pots out with them. Here you can see the spiderwort, particularly liked by the bees. It is basically native to here. You could call it a nativar. I learned a new word last week, a nativar. I do like the color of that. That's really the only spot that I kind of let it come up. It's easy to eradicate, but it'll want to go wherever you don't want it to be. I do have some little strawberries already. And the strawberries I planted in the empty holes have apparently taken root because they are green. These ferns have really greened up nicely. The one thing I did notice this last week, it's not opening yet, but hopefully you can see all of the flower buds on the satsuma tree. It's going to be absolutely full of satsuma flowers. My sempervivum still looking good. My bougainvillea starting to come back. And I'm keeping water in Godot's water dish. He hasn't been back yet. He's my wild turtle or tortoise that comes back here. He'll be back probably in another month. Here you can see the Lenten roses are still looking nice. I did notice the ground ginger is doing really well. It seems to relish in getting this sunlight. It will be shaded out by the African iris later in the summer, but I noticed the leaves have turned the 2 colors, which when they're shaded will only be the solid green 1 color. Here you can see this was the last Lenten rose to bloom, and the little ring of yellow things in the middle, those are actually the flowers. These are bracts, kind of similar to poinsettia. Pieris japonica starting to fall apart. I have to switch hands for this because I have better strength in my right hand. Okay. My Pride of Mobile azaleas are starting to be a little the worse for wear. Here's where I planted the toad lily. from the backyard. It's doing okay there. I'd had to put slug bait around it because slugs started attacking it. My lemongrass is looking particularly healthy in that pot. Here you can see my Australian tree fern is still doing well, still unfurling. It looks kind of nasty or terrible with all these bags of leaves, but you do have to realize, or you don't have to realize, my excuse is those bags will never go away because they get delivered every Thursday. So even when I put them out, new ones get delivered, so I never turn leaves away. They'll go somewhere in my flower beds. Here in the potager, I did notice that my mint that I brought back from New York, the slugs have gotten to, as well as the Thai basil. They like that. Those two, everything else is done well. Strawberries are coming up here and there in that front row. My plan is I've gotten rid of all of the wandering dude or spider wort except way back against there in the fence, and that can go. But the plan is to cover the whole bed with strawberries. And strawberries, you kind of need to rotate every 4 years. The first strawberries are planted here in the front, and the runners I'll plant about 6 inches away this year, and then again 6 inches away, and then again the next year 6 inches away, and by that time the first row that was planted will need to be ripped out. They only produce for about 3 to 4 years. So that way, if you keep moving them along in the flower bed, you can go forward and then back and keep having strawberries. At least that's my plan. I planted some broccoli over here, a clump. Everything here is doing fine. My bananas are sprouting up. I don't see any signs of new bananas coming up around the ground here on these other two, but they will. My fig tree is leafing out nicely. Here, of course, at the bottom of the fig tree is where I'm going to put the cucumbers again, since they did so well last time. I did notice back in here, the iris that I just bought this year is all now sprouting nicely. So I don't think it'll bloom this year, but at least it did grow. And of course everything here is now kind of resting. The loropetalum will bloom, but the camellias are done. They've been fertilized. Loropetalum will start. The Encore azaleas will continue blooming sporadically through the summer. The white rose of Sharon will bloom eventually. My George Tabor azaleas are still looking nice. And that's about it for today. It's just such a beautiful sunny day today. I did notice my hydrangea is leafing out nicely. That's a limelight hydrangea. And I have to go the other way by the street. This loropetalum is a nice color. It's a really deep red. But I wanted to show you the crepe myrtle. It is definitely leafing out. And it's going to have purple leaves. So the crepe myrtle is looking nice. So the purple with the pink will make a nice color here eventually. So it's all doing well. And with that, I will let you all go for now. Hopefully you can enjoy some sunny weather. You may want to do some fertilizing when and if you can. And other than that, have a good week. Till next time.